Sego, Bonjour, greetings. I'm a First Nation person. I am of mixed blood, and I'm sure you've heard this before, that we are taught by our elders to consider the next 7 generations, and certainly not just for First Nations people, but for all two-legged, all people, the next 7 generations of your children, and yours, and yours, and yours, each one. And if we think about holding our own babies in our arms and our own grandchildren and the joy, I would just ask the rhetorical question, are you advising, are you telling the real truth that you could face your children if they really understood and they had to drink from that water, and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren a few generations down, and if you can, in the middle of the night, just before yourself and your inner person, know that you're at peace with that, then I think we could all feel we could trust that. But if you deep down know that you're being led and guided by money and powers that be to sidestep and to give complicated answers to a very simple situation, this is the purest, some of the purest water on the face of the earth. There must be other places and there must be better ways. Then I would ask that you would do the right thing. And if you don't know the way to the right thing today, then I would ask that you would use all your influence towards finding the right ways. I don't ask you to answer that to me. I just ask you to answer that before your own conscience, Rich.
It's darn near 11 o'clock. I know Rob has to be at the council meeting. We've got one question left, I hope.
Am I okay?
Please.
My name is Sharon Pottage. I'm a taxpayer in Simcoe County. So far, I'm thinking a tax revolt might be a good way to go. I'm so angry about this dump. My question is for the Ministry of the Environment. I want to understand the dewatering process, because when I look at that process, to me it looks criminal. Dumping out 880,000 liters a day of pristine water to build a dump, dumping it into the wetlands with no concern for the ecosystems down there. I read in the paper that because Mother Earth tries to balance herself, that she's going to draw water back into the water table from all over the place as you dump it out. And so if she's trying to pull that in, she's going to pull it in from far beyond the borders of Simcoe County, as well as from that Posey dump site that's leaching. It's going to pull that plume towards Site 41. Can I just have you comment on that?
The permit to take water for Site 41 is a temporary construction dewatering permit. It expires December 31st this year. It has very strict conditions that the County of Simcoe has to operate under. It includes that they cannot cause an off-site adverse impact to rainwater quality or quantity. The monitoring data that we have to date is provided by the county's consultants, weekly water level monitoring. There has been no adverse impact to water levels off-site. The construction dewatering, since the county resumed construction, the volume they're taking is significantly less than what they're approved for. They've determined through their monitoring over the last couple of months that they don't need to take the full 410,000 liters per day, because they can maintain a factor of safety for construction at a reduced rate of taking. The water is discharged. The water is monitored by the consultant for temperature. Ministry staff are there regularly to also monitor the construction activities and the discharge water. There are also conditions to ensure that the temperature of the discharge water doesn't have a negative impact on McDonald Creek. We've directed the county to divert the construction dewatering through the stormwater management pond in order to balance that, because there were some concerns about temperature variations because of the cold temperature of the groundwater, and there hasn't been any adverse impact from that activity.
What about the way that the aquifer is going to try and balance itself? We don't really understand. Do you really understand how that works? How it's going to pull in water from other places to try and balance?
Well, what's underneath the landfill site, I'm not sure if the consultant spoke or not, but when you pump in a non-artesian or non-upward hydro-operating environment, you create a cone of influence that draws water in. In the case of Site 41, with the upper hydraulic gradients, what they're trying to do is they're not trying to drop the water level below the landfill site, they just want to lower the pressure, the upper gradient pressure enough that there isn't a concern that the native clay will heave in the landfill excavation. So the monitoring that they're required to do and what the permitting water was approved on does not show anything more than a water level drop within 500 meters of about, I think, half a meter to a meter. And that's it. If there was anything identified by the ministry or the consultant or residents where a well was impacted by that dewatering, we would require the Simcoe County Assembly to cease that and or provide a new source of drinking water or an alternative.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Could I just ask a question from Mr. Environment?
We've got a bunch of people who have to go to the council meeting.
Well,
I don't want to shut you down.
I'll only be half a minute.
Let's take half.
We have a fish pond at our place. We live about 6 kilometers south of Site 41, 5 or 6. And recently, since they started pumping this water out, we lost our depth in the pond about 3 to 4 feet. I wonder, would that affect the Site 41 or our pond? If they're pumping out so many million liters of water up there?
I can't imagine it would with that distance, but
no, given the distance that you are away from the landfill site, it's nothing to do with the depressurization of the landfill.
It's the first year it's done it.
We monitor the effects on site and around the site, and as Mr. Hyde said, the impact in the aquifer is about half a meter still on site. So to drop your pond level by that much, it's just not possible. And another thing is the elevation, like the height of your pond relative to the site. I don't know where 6 kilometers is, but that's a long, long way away. So it's nothing to do with the landfill site.
Never happened before.
2 really quick questions.
Yeah, 2 quick questions. The one question is very simple because we're talking about water, and I guess this is to the MOE. My understanding is that obviously there is a water standard that has to be achieved, and it's my understanding that the water that exists in that area is much higher quality than the acceptable standard. Now, to close down dump site when it does open, would it require a reduction in quality of the water to the provincial standard, or would any deviation from its existing standard dictate that the dump be closed? That's question 1.
The groundwater at Site 41, some of the information that Dr. Shotek has provided over the last couple of years, his monitoring data indicate very low levels of elements such as lead or antimony. That's good news, but however, those same wells are the ones that another gentleman was talking about that have elevated levels of manganese and iron that exceed the Ontario Drinking Water Quality Standards. So if the Site 41 has groundwater monitoring wells and sentry wells and trigger criteria that are established in the school approval, such that if all of the protective features of the landfill site failed and the sentry wells would detect that impact, the ministry would require the county of Simcoe to undertake remedial action to ensure that there is no off-site adverse impact from the landfill site.